Ethos.com/sports. Ethos.com/sports.
Sample Rate is a 10-year term life policy for 35-year-old healthy, non-smoking male. Billed monthly.
Thank you for making Total Wine & More America's #1 online source for spirits, beer, and wine. Better than all those delivery apps. Total Wine's prices are up to 30% lower with super fast delivery and no hidden fees. Order direct at TotalWine.com and pay less today.
Drink responsibly, B21.
Right now at the Home Depot, shop Spring Black Friday savings up to 35% off select appliances plus free delivery from top brands like Samsung. Get tech you can trust to simplify your daily routines. From all-in-one washer dryers to smart refrigerators with Family Hub. Upgrade your kitchen and laundry with trusted technology from Samsung, ranked #1 in customer satisfaction. Get Spring Black Friday appliance savings and free delivery now at the Home Depot. Visit jdpower.com/awards for more details. Free delivery on appliance purchases of $396 or more. Offer valid April 3rd through April 23rd. U.S. only. See store online for details.
Thank you for making Total Wine & More America's #1 online source for spirits, beer, and wine. Better than all those delivery apps. Total Wine's prices are up to 30% lower with super fast delivery and no hidden fees. Order direct at TotalWine.com and pay less today.
Drink responsibly, B21.
KCUB Tucson, a Cumulus media station, your home for the NFL, regular season playoffs, and Super Bowl. It's Wildcats Radio 1290.
DK on the sports tip. Wildcats Radio 1290.
The sophomore left fielder up to bat. He swings at the first pitch he sees. It's going to be driven high out to deep right field. Hairston's back at the wall, and it's gone. A home run for Andrew Kane. A 3-run shot extends Arizona's lead, now 4-0 over the Sun Devils.
Andrew Kane and his Arizona Wildcats are back home here at High Corbett Field. High C for tonight's game between the Arizona Wildcats and the New Mexico State Aggies. Midweek baseball, and that is where we are coming to you live from on this gloriously warm afternoon here in Tucson, Arizona. My name is David Kelly. Welcome to the show. 86 degrees right now here out at the ballpark. Going to be a tremendously comfortable night for some baseball as the Wildcats will look to continue their winning ways. Took 3 out of 4 last week, 2 out of 3 from the rival Sun Devils up in Phoenix, a game from Grand Canyon. This week with 4 games here at home, it'll be New Mexico State tonight, the Aggies, and then Oklahoma State coming in to continue Big 12 conference play on Friday night. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. All 4 of those games you'll hear right here on Wildcats Radio 1290. We've got you from now until around 5:50 when Brian Jeffries will take over and have the call on tonight's game here at High C. 520-848-1290 is the number. If you'd like to get in on the program, 520-848-1290. April 8th is the date. A year ago today, I had one of the most incredible days of my life. 1 year ago today, of course, was the total solar eclipse here in the United States. It was not total here in southern Arizona. It was total, though, in my hometown of Cleveland, Ohio, where I went to see totality. And I still will tell you to this day, if that is ever something you have the opportunity to do, to go see a total solar eclipse, I strongly encourage you to go see one of this planet's greatest phenomenons, when the Earth comes in between, or the moon, I should say, comes in between the path of the Earth and its sun, creating one of the most glorious spectacles you will ever want to see when day turns to night and then back to day in the matter of a couple of hours. 520-848-1290 is the number to get into the program. Wildcats taking on New Mexico State here tonight. You heard Andrew Kane. Andrew is starting to heat up out of Ironwood Ridge High School. Second year with the Arizona Wildcats. Got off to a little bit of a slow start at one point this season. Was only hitting about 167. In fact, up until last week, was only hitting 196 for this team. But last week on the road was a really good week for Andrew Kane. He went 5 for 12 from the plate, hit a pair of home runs, both of those coming in the series over the ASU Sun Devils over the weekend, and drove in 4 runs. We'll talk to Chip Hale just a little bit later in the show. We'll ask him about Andrew Kane, who was in the lineup. Now, if you were listening last week, one of the things that Chip Hale said when we had a chance to talk to him last week was he was experimenting with some of his corner infielders playing corner outfield positions. That is because right now the Wildcats are without their best player, Brendan Summerhill, who is out with an injury. So Andrew Kane played left field on Sunday in the Wildcats' final game of the series in Phoenix against the Sun Devils. Unfortunately, when the game was on the line about midway through, Andrew had a little bit of an error out in left field.
And now Hicks faces Brody Briggs. First pitch swung on, hit well out to left field. Andrew Kane coming up on the run, running back, and he can't handle it. It drops for a base hit. 1 run scores, and Isaiah Jackson falls in between home and third. The throw to Miron is not in time as Jackson gets back safely, and a mistake by Andrew Kane. He overran the ball and couldn't track it down on what could have been an inning-ending fly ball. Turns into another run for the Sun Devils, and they lead 6-4 now over the Wildcats.
We'll talk a lot about plays that don't get made, because that was a situation not similar to that, but a play that did not get made that led last night to the undoing of your Arizona Diamondbacks as they suffered a third straight loss. We'll get into that a little bit later as the D-backs will play Game 2 of their series tonight with the Baltimore Orioles. You have got to make plays defensively. Giving teams extra outs is not a recipe for winning baseball. Unfortunately, it is not easy when you've not played a lot of outfield. And again, Andrew played outfield in high school, but anytime you're playing outfield in a dusk situation when the sun is setting, it sometimes can be very difficult to pick up that little white baseball in the sky, and unfortunately that happened to Andrew during that game on Sunday night. We'll talk to Chip Hale a little bit about that when he joins us a little later on the show. 6 o'clock again, first pitch tonight. And we'll have you till 5:50. Brian Jeffries will take over at that particular time. This will actually be these games now that Brian is back in the booth are a simulcast. So if you're watching on TV on ESPN Plus, which is where you can find the game tonight, you will hear Brian Jeffries calling the game as well. So I've not had a chance to watch it that way just yet. So I'm interested to see kind of if Brian adjusts some announcers when they're doing a simulcast will adjust more to the TV style of calling a game versus the baseball versus the radio style. But I would imagine because the game is on radio, Brian will likely keep more of a radio style in calling the game here tonight. These two teams have faced off 70 times previously. This series dates back between Arizona and New Mexico State in baseball to 1917. How about that? Over 108 years, these two teams have played baseball. You would think over 108 years, maybe they played more than 70 times, but that is the number, and the Wildcats have won 61 of those 70 meetings. They are 61-9 all time against the New Mexico Aggies. The two teams split this two-game series last year. New Mexico State actually won here in Tucson, 12-9 in March, and then the Wildcats returned the favor when they played the second game down in Las Cruces, winning by way of run rule, and the count was 12-2. I am out at High Corbett Field, joined by my guy, J.W. Madden, who is back in studio. J-Dub, we crowned a national champion in basketball last night. Mixed feelings for me. I had Florida on my bracket. I had Florida and Houston as my two teams. I can't remember the last time that I actually picked the champion correctly. So I'm a little bit happy about that I actually got a bracket right for once. But disappointing because, as I stated yesterday, I really wanted Houston to win that ball game. And it looked like for at least a large part of it that they were going to be able to do that. But, again, Florida showed at least, I don't know if all postseason, but at least over the course, I believe, of the final 3-4 games of the postseason, that they were adept at coming back from deficits. And they did that last night. And for the second time this postseason, and I'm talking about when the Arizona women lost in their final game to Northern Arizona, we saw an instance where a team could not get a shot off at the end. And you sit here and you say to yourself, how can you not get a shot off when a game is on the line? And then you say to yourself, well, you're dealing at times with 19 to 22-year-olds who, although they play this game at a high level for the majority of the season, when things get tight at times in critical situations, it's very easy to freeze up and not be able to accomplish the techniques that got you to that point.
Yeah, DK, I'm glad you're happy, and I'm glad you picked both the teams. I'm not happy about any of it. I'm sad today. I'm always sad today, DK, because college basketball is by far and away my favorite sport.
Yeah.
And so the day after the season ends is always a sad day. Really was hoping that Houston could pull it out. My biggest takeaway, DK, was where was that versus Arizona? Because in both the games versus the Houston Cougars, they made huge shot-making plays in the last 2 minutes of both those games to pull out tight wins. The last couple minutes of that game was very uncharacteristic. I got to give a ton of credit to the Florida defense in that second half. First half, Houston could get what they wanted. Second half, Houston guards were not in the paint at all, and that was really shocking to see because this whole year, you might think of their three-point shooting. They're actually the best percentage-wise three-point shooting team in the country, but a lot of their damage comes from those guards, like you, Sam, getting into the paint and causing havoc, and they just could not get 2 feet in the paint last night in the last 10 minutes versus Florida. So, man, tip your cap, huge win. Youngest coach ever to win it, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I think most of us would like to have seen 69-year-old Kelvin Sampson, who's been in this game for a long time, up there with a big smile on his face, cutting the nets down, and they just could not get it done those last couple of minutes. Sad day for those guys, but hey, that's the way the game works. Sometimes you close games out strong, and sometimes you can't get a shot off. It was a little unorganized there at the end. I'm sure those players don't want to go and watch that tape. But, yeah, it was a great season, I think, overall, and a really good tournament, really fun tournament to watch. I like underdogs, and I like the Cinderellas, but having 4 dominant teams, the 4 most dominant teams all year long, be in that Final Four, it was great basketball to watch and really good games.
I was not aware, I don't know if you were, that Todd Golden is a native of the state of Arizona.
I had heard that some time ago, but it's funny if you listen to him talk, he's got a bit of a twang, like he's definitely adapted to the South. But yeah, I believe he played some basketball up there as well, didn't he?
Yeah, up in Phoenix, went to Sunny Slope High School, won a state championship at Sunny Slope back in the year of 2002. Went on to play college basketball at St. Mary's. For the Gales, and then apparently got into the working world, did some sales before he finally found his way back to basketball as a director of basketball operations, which is how a lot of guys kind of get their foot in the door, just kind of running everything for the departments, and then found his way onto the bench and was an assistant under Bruce Pearl. Back in the day as well, so had a chance to come up and face his mentor, one of his mentors, and finally got an opportunity at a young age, was up at San Francisco, and I didn't get a chance to look at it. He was the head coach at San Francisco, and I'm wondering, I'll look it up during the next break, but I think he may have been there when...
He was there 2019 to 22.
Yeah, they had a young man on the team from Saguaro High School that was up there, and I believe he played for Todd Golden up at San Francisco while he was the head coach there, and got that Florida job after only being there for, I think he was there 3 seasons before getting the job at Florida. And so has really taken that program, which, again, was one of the best programs in the country, winning back-to-back championships in the early part of this century, and bringing them back to the top for their 3rd national championship last night as they got the 2-point win over the Houston Cougars.
It was so weird, too. Like you mentioned, Houston came back obviously huge against Duke as well. Houston had a propensity to come back as 2, but I think the stat was Florida came back 4 times. The highest deficit was 12 points. They came back from 8-point deficit, 10-point deficit, 12-point deficit. But the weirdest thing to me, DK, yesterday was Walter Clayton Jr. got his first bucket, not even his first bucket, his first points 25 minutes into that game. So, I mean, a guy who would come off back-to-back, I believe he was the first player ever to have 30 points in the Elite Eight and the first Final Four game.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, that guy had been smoking, and the Houston D, he got 4 shots up and had 1 free throw in the first 25 minutes of that game. So, Houston defense did what it did. Their shot makers just couldn't pull it out down the stretch. I think Nate Renfro is the guy you're thinking of.
Yeah,
from
Nate
Saguaro.
Renfro, and his senior year, Golden was still one of the assistants. Kyle Smith was still the head coach at that particular time before Kyle Smith left to go to Washington State. And then Todd Golden, I believe it was that next year, 1920, that he ascended to take over the
DK,
there.
Coaches are changing so often these days. How do we even keep track?
Exactly.
Every minute there's some other news coming out about the coaching carousel.
Yeah, well, especially in the National Basketball Association, apparently. We'll get into that as well. Another stunning development out of the league today as another coach bound for the playoffs, fired just a week and a half from the beginning of the playoffs. I don't actually get what's going on in the National Basketball Association with some of these moves that teams are making late in the season. We'll dive into all that. We'll get more, and we'll hear from some of the folks from last night's national championship game. That'll be coming up next. Chip Hale is going to join us. We will have an opportunity to get into some of the track interviews that we got on Friday night at the track reunion over at the Fred Harvey estate. We'll let you hear from a couple of those folks. I'm going to save the good stuff for tomorrow and Thursday, but I will we'll give you a little bit of a sampler today. We'll hear from the legendary Tanya Hughes. And when I say legendary, I mean the first NCAA Woman of the Year from the University of Arizona. And there have been 4. She was the first. She was there on Friday night. Got a chance to talk to her, I should say. Also got a chance to talk to Ed Areola, who was the first ever runner at the University of Arizona to run a sub-4-minute mile. You'll hear from him today as well. DK on the Sports Tip coming to you live from High Corbett Field. Wildcats in New Mexico State tonight. First pitch at 6 o'clock. If you're headed out to the ball game tonight, give us a call at 520-848-1290. Right now, cricket is getting you home every 20 minutes on the fives with your traffic and your weather.
From the AutoNation Honda and BMW of Tucson Traffic Center, Wildcats Radio, 1290 traffic and weather together. Southbound I-19 approaching San Javier, vehicle fire, stay to the left to get by. Freeway backup southbound I-19 approaching San Javier, backed up to Ajo Way. Collisions that are reported at Speedway and Wilmot, and also Broadway east of Craycroft at Broadway and Chantilly. And for your weather, 59 the low, 93 tomorrow, 96 Thursday, 100 by Friday. 89 now.